Okay, so after 3 days of decision making, deliberation, emailing hair dye companies, and using the virtual swatches, the virtual try-on their websites, I made a choice. Well, I made two choices. I decided against L'Oreal, even though they were highly responsive and I really liked their try-on setup on the website. But I had used L'Oreal before and I found that it had a lot of red in it. And my hair turned, as you look back to some of my old videos, my hair was uber red. So, and also it costs more. It was $17 in the drugstore, and why choose a more expensive box to use if you don't have to? And Garnier is, it was 14 in the drugstore, $13.99 I think. But ordering it on Walmart was $7 on sale, regular $10. So, and I spoke to Garnier on the phone, to their hair concierge person years ago, and she was really helpful, and she advised me against actually using the one that I had previously thought I would pick, the light ash brown, which I have a nice picture of myself after having used that dye, and it totally calmed down the red after the L'Oreal products I tried. So, and I thought that was good, but it did leave a green cast in my hair. And when I spoke to the concierge at Garnier, she advised strongly against using the ash shades because they're not for blonde people. And that's the main thing, and it's really hard to find information about hair dye for blondes because you look it up and all you get is people who are dyeing their hair blonde, not people who start out that way, because there's a difference. You know, blonde hair is thinner, it's finer than brown or black hair, and it doesn't, if you look at the cross section, it doesn't have that inner part that thicker hair has. So that's why thicker hair can use 30 vol peroxide, but thinner hair like blonde hair shouldn't be more than 20 vol. So I was writing to the companies to find out what volume peroxide is in their products because it doesn't say on the websites. Sometimes it doesn't say when you get the box and you take the developer out either. It just says developer cream or something, and it doesn't say how much peroxide's in there, which is a nice thing about the products that you buy separately at the hair supply place. So if you go to Sally's, for example, you can buy your color and your developer separately, so you know actually what you're using, and it's educational, which is nice. So anyway, so I chose, after trying on the swatches, Garnier's. Oh, I also looked at, backing up, I also looked at Nice and Easy, and I wrote to them and I found out that the nice medium silver that I wanted to try has 30 vol peroxide in, so that's going to be too much for my hair. That's for brunettes who want to go silver. That's not for blondes who are already turning silver. I want to accent that. So I'm going with a company that provide dye for blondes, and L'Oreal do, but so do Garnier. So yes, so I picked this shade, the light, it's a light ash blonde called White Chocolate, and I'm going to try that one first because it's is it a level 10? I don't know, but it did come up in the recommended options for me when you do the little quiz on the Garnier website. You get 5 options, and that one came up, and that one was one I was liking because it's so not yellow. It's white and it's ashy, and it couldn't have much green dye in it if it's level 10. So I'll try that, and I'm curious to see what it'll do. And then if that's no good, I will also have the medium ash blonde to try, Now she did say don't use ash, but this is level 8 and I was using level 6 before. So I think there's a difference there. And it did come up in recommended for you after they ask you all the questions. Have you dyed your hair before? What color is it naturally? How much gray have you got? What are you looking for? Do you want to go lighter or darker? So, and it came up with the 81 as an option. So, yeah, so I'll have 2 to choose from, $7 each. So that's great. So I'm now just waiting and looking forward to getting those in the mail. Also, when I was in town last Monday, it is now the following Sunday, I went into the little hair salon that's there, and I actually forgot that it was there. And she said, can I help you? And I said, can you tell me what color my hair is? So she came over and she looked at my hair and she said, it's dirty blonde. It's dark blonde with medium blonde, dark blonde, medium blonde with the gray. So the gray. So there you go. So I found, and I confirmed, my hair is not brown like the other salon said according to my photos, but my hairdresser in person told me I'm still blonde, that it is level 7-8 with a lot of gray. So now I know. With new hair, what do you think? So I spent about 3 days comparing and choosing and doing the online try-on and contacting the companies with any information I needed. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't use peroxide higher than 20 volume. I chose these 2 shades, the medium ash blonde and the, what's this one called? It's called extra light ash blonde. I used this one, as you can tell. It's actually turned out kind of close to the box. I didn't think it had. I guess in this light it looks closer. I did not pick this one. First of all, I ordered from Walmart, and when I took it out of the parcel box, it looked too light. It looked lighter than I thought it would be, and I opened up the package at the bottom, and it's 30 volume peroxide. And you can tell by looking at the before and after pictures, if you can go from this to this with it, it's not 20 volume. So that's gonna hurt my hair too much. So yeah, so I put this one on, I followed the instructions. It took me 20 minutes to spread it throughout my hair. I did call Garnier after I finished to get my questions that came up while I was doing it answered. And I wanted to know how much time do they allow for application, because you leave it on for 25 minutes after you finish. But what if it takes you 45 minutes to get it on your hair? It took me 20 minutes. And it used to take me half an hour when I was a newbie at this, but I realized in my first 10 minutes that I was being too slow and I needed to speed up. I did 1/2-inch sections, but I started making them thicker as I went so that it wouldn't take as long. My second question was, because I had no root regrowth, because it's all roots, the instructions say to apply to the roots first, and that's because the fresher the hair, the more time it takes to dye it. So this stuff that's 2 years old will dye faster. So you want to apply. So I didn't know how much should I I ended up doing about 1 inch. So, but she said usually people aren't dyeing virgin hair. Usually they just do up to the regrowth line, right? She didn't really know. But she said 1 inch was probably fine. Or you could have just gone root to tip all at once. So that's how I did it. I did my hair in 4 sections, up and down and side to side. And I did this chunk, this chunk, this chunk, this chunk. My other question that I didn't ask her, and I was just about to call them back, but they're closed now until tomorrow, was should I pile it loosely on top of my head to process, or should I fan it out? Because I know that when I used to use Revlon, they asked you to pile it loosely or even cover it with a plastic bag to keep the heat in. That's because it's not an ammonia-based one, but ammonia, I know it works through evaporation. And I remembered partway through, after I had piled it on top of my head, and it had been like that for 20 minutes. Oh yeah, I was supposed to fan it out so that it could evaporate. But anyway, I forget. So I wanted to ask them that, whether I should do that, because it doesn't say, the instructions are really limited. Anyway, when it was coloring, it turned this really bright, there you go, this really bright light orange. And I was getting worried, and I thought, no, don't worry, it lightens first, then it deposits the color. Just leave it to process. And it even says that on the instructions. Don't worry, leave it to process, it'll get darker. It's still warmer than I expected. I mean, it's okay. I'm happy enough with it. Warmer than I expected. Like if you look at my before picture. When this grows out, how's it gonna look? So time will tell. It's very soft though. Even when I rinsed out the dye, it wasn't coarse like twine. That's how I remember when I would wash out the dye. It would be coarse like burlap until you'd get the conditioner on. This didn't feel like that, maybe because my hair is still so healthy, and I'm gonna be darn careful not to make it unhealthy again. So I asked her about that too. How long should I go before my next full color? And she said, well, you're probably gonna wanna do your roots after 4 to 6 weeks. And in that, so I asked her, if I do my roots after 4 weeks and I've got ½ an inch of regrowth, should I just do the roots and then wash that out? She said, no, pull it through the lengths for at least for 5 minutes. So, but I think that the longer I can let my roots regrow, the better that'll be for my overall hair health. She said, eyeball it though, like if you give it 2 months and you notice that the color is starting to fade, that would be a good time to refresh the color. I'll do a little traverse. You see how much browner it gets as soon as I leave the light? Like that. It's still a level 7, I think. I do like that my cowlick white isn't entirely covered. I thought about leaving it out, but I thought that would be too tricky, so I didn't. So there you go. That's what I got. With Garnier 81 medium ash blonde.